Quinn Profiles. As an editor for Andy Warhol's Interview, the Los Angeles Herald Examiner, LA Style, and Detour magazines, Joan covered the social set, the Hollywood hotshots, the international art scene, the mysteries of food, the excitement of travel, and the fabulous world of fashion. Joan continues to find creative people on the cutting edge who make things happen. Here's Joan Agajanian Quinn.
Hi, I'm Joan Quinn, and welcome to the Joan Quinn Profiles. Our guests in the studio waiting to be profiled are Dr. Jungen Klein and singer Deborah Downey. Dr. Klein was born in a small town near Hanover, Germany. I can't pronounce it, so we're going to have to ask him later. But he went to the University of Hanover, where he studied chemistry. The school he went to had a very strong influence in literature and the arts. And what were you doing there getting a chemistry degree instead of being in the arts?
I was about 14 years old when I had my first laboratory and studied herbal medicine, traditional Western herbal medicine. And I followed it through to today, and I've added then Chinese and Ayurvedic and Red Indian medicine.
But what were you going to do with chemistry when you went to the university?
I was very naive at that stage because the books I read, my father had a book from school, and that was presenting alchemy, the ancient art of chemistry.
Ah, yes.
So and I was so naive that I thought when I go to university it's something similar, and it was a very boring thing to do. But in our time I knew I would need a title and do all the right things to develop a business.
Did you take art classes? Did you take literature and the arts?
Yes. My wife is a painter. And deep down under, I'm a sculpturist.
Oh, yes.
I just met outside a sculpturist.
Yes.
We talked about that. And so for the next 20 years, if it's allowed to live, I will be a sculpturist. And
is that right?
Yes, absolutely.
So that herbal medicine at the age of 14, I don't know how anyone at 14 can figure out what herbal medicine is anyway. How did you know what that was?
I knew it. I grew up in the ruins after the war. And my grandfather had from the First World War, he was very sick, and we were very poor, and I learned to collect herbs in the forest.
Oh, is that
around.
right?
And he grew everything in his garden, let's say like the calendulas, which are used in herbal medicine. And I learned it there. So we picked the whole year through products. He made herbal wines.
Was it like something that came out of your past, out of his, say, parents, grandparents, so that it was in your family?
I think at that stage.
Or was it like old wives?
Everybody
traditional, yeah.
And it were always the grandmothers who carried it through. They have the same today in China.
The women always carry that type of thing.
Yes.
So then, as you finished your chemistry courses, then you started thinking about, you didn't think about doing this, you wanted to be a sculptor.
Yeah, and I'm actually a photographer also. Lots of the photos I've done in business from plants which we're using, they're from me.
I see. So you did have that eye from the university. It carried you through.
Yeah. I believe it's the same energy to heal and to use in art.
What happened was you left Germany and you didn't continue your work there, either your work in the arts or your work in medicine.
I worked as a consultant for companies in Germany. I even created turnkey operations for little herbal medicine companies and cosmetic companies.
Using your doctor background or your chemistry background?
I have a natural path doctor background, have a chemistry background, but it's mostly what I learned myself.
So then you decided after you were working in Germany to immigrate.
I was 40 by then, my wife too, we had 4 little children, and then we thought, finally we have to prove it can be done, and not only, let's say, on a boutique and kitchen level. So we thought we have, without changing the world, we have a mission and do the right thing.
So when you got, did you actually go to Australia to start a business?
I inspected a few countries.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, we looked in Ireland, Western Virginia, Oregon, New Zealand, southern France. I knew when we start a company and we do something, we have to be the best. So I had to start a niche, kind of a cult brand.
And what you were looking for was someplace where you could grow flowers, obviously, and soil that was right.
Yes, we looked in order to do, and we make a big claim that we make the purest product in our area. We had to be true, because in our time, where we live in the age of information, everybody knows everything after a while. You can't cheat anymore.
Exactly.
So we knew when we want to do the best, we had to control the plant material, and that has to come from a very clean environment, air, water, and soil.
And you found that the most in Australia, you thought?
There are other compromises, commercial compromises, but that was the best possible compromise in the hills of Adelaide in South Australia.
You started a company called Jurlique. How did you get that name?
Jurlique is combined of the Christian names, myself, Jürgen, Jur, Ulrike, my wife's name, who's a horticulturist and botanist. So that company is both of us.
Did you did practice Eastern medicine for a while?
I had to learn Eastern. I still practice herbal alternative medicine, homeopathy, and I have a license to do that in Australia. But we have added on Chinese medicine. We're growing herbs now from China and also from India on our farm.
And you have someone on the staff who, does he work with you? Do you combine Western and Eastern medicine?
It's stunning actually that you see their equivalent, and there's Dr. V.B. Chan, refugee from China, so he's a pharmacist and a Chinese medicine person, and all of our 300 staff can consult him, or he consults them during business hours when they have.
So if you're making oil, body oil, does he have a say in it? Does he go into the fields and find if it's lavender oil? We have a picture of the lavender fields right here.
He doesn't have to do it. I can do that for him. But when he comes with the new plants, let's say you have ultra-sensitive skin, and he proposes Chinese peppercorn, you would think you break out from that. For 5,000 years it's used. We're growing that now, and we're putting that in ultra-sensitive skin products.
So that's the background of the medicine, actually, that goes into your product, but then, I mean, into the creams and oils that you use. But you also, as soon as you need a new herb, you just grow it.
If we can, when the climate allows, yes, we do that, yes.
One of the things that you also do there is you make wine. Is there an influence with Eastern medicine in the wine?
When you look back into traditional herbal medicines, most of the herbs have been extracted 1,500, 300 years ago in wine, actually.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, because it's a herbal background, and the alcohol combined with water is the only natural extract medium which you have.
So that's how that came about. The other thing that I have, the other thing that I see that you do is herbal tea. Do you actually grow tea on your farm?
We grow the herbs. They either go in tinctures or they go in herbal tea, because to treat a human skin, you have to treat from inside out.
That's what I was going to ask you, because people talk about putting things on your face and putting body oil on, and it's just on the top. You think about a person looking beautiful or clean from the inside.
We actually don't look very clean when you have a deeper look, but as clean as possible. So, and food, I believe, and everybody knows, the skin is a large organ. The skin is extremely smart, what it lets through and what not. It can be cheated with chemicals, and we don't want to have chemicals under the skin, have a rubbish heap under the skin. Very dangerous, because then you activate the immune system, and we shouldn't do that. So we are purist in terms of watch what you eat, what you drink. You can't be perfect, but do it as good as possible, and then you can do something very good from the outside.
So you watch what you put in. Do you grow vegetables?
Yes.
Oh, you do?
I mean, for us.
For you,
and
for
for
your
staff, yeah. We grow
So
organic
it's
vegetables.
organic, no pesticides, that type of
No
thing.
fertilizers, no herbicides. And that means we have to weed by hand.
What is aromatherapy? Because I'm looking at these beautiful pictures of lavender, and I always think of aromatherapy as something that you smell.
It's a very ancient art. When you go to Egypt, go into the pyramids, go into a museum, they show you how they have treated dead bodies, so the form could survive thousands of years, but they were very wise in using plant aromas in therapy.
Ah, that's what it is. So Jurlique takes care of women, takes care of men too, I understand. Should men be careful about what they do?
Normally women take care of men and they buy good products for men. Men are still shy and men can't still express very well feelings, can't they?
So it takes the women. And then also you have baby products that you think about the child.
I think it's the most important one when we don't look after the next generation. Actually, midwives in Australia forced us to do a baby range because commercial products have so many toxic and potential cancerogenic substances from mineral oil, for instance, that they asked us, and they had horrible nappy, you say diaper rashes,
Right.
that they say, come up with something. Why do you look after adults, look after the kids?
And so you started this, so we can take care of, the women have to take care of the men and the babies.
Absolutely.
And Dr. Klein has to take care of all of us.
No, I take care of the women, and they do the right thing.
And they do the rest. If you didn't have a Jurlique cream to clean your face, what would you suggest doing?
The best is still water. So you don't use whiskey or soup or use a herbal tea. And look what traditional in India women do, where mothers teach daughters. They use turmeric. Turmeric is curcuma, the yellow root, and sandalwood. And look at Indian women, how beautiful their skin is.
So so I bet you have some of that going in your things too.
I have westernized it because I believe the skin is the biggest organ, most important organ, and the skin eats also.
Eats, and they can eat those herbs.
You don't want the skin to eat chemicals and preservatives.
No, so herbs.
But when, for instance, I've made a product and that has organic oats, organic oat bran, biodynamic tahini, which is left over from sesame.
Yeah.
So when you want to wash, and I learned that in India, when people have very dirty hands, mechanics, they take tahini, very oily stuff, but has some foamy substance, and they come out with beautiful, clean skin, nails, nail beds, everything, and the skin is moisturized at the same time. So I put that in a product.
And in the Middle East, we eat tahini. You eat that.
We eat tahini at home too.
Do you? So we eat a lot of that.
I don't eat peanut butter, I eat tahini.
So it goes in and you can put it out.
Yeah.
Dr. Klein, we've learned a lot from you today and your product, and we're glad that you were with us. And Jurlique, which is a combination of your name and your wife's name, will be something for us to look for. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Don't go away. We'll be right back with Deborah Downey. Good. That was great. Hi again, I'm Joan Quinn, and welcome back. Singer Deborah Downey was born and raised in White Plains, New York. She came to the West Coast to train at Lee Strasberg, and at the same time entered UCLA in the drama department. She's appeared in movies of the week, TV shows, on stage, and has a cabaret act. You've done it all when it comes to entertaining, Deborah. What do you like the best?
Well, I have to say that cabaret has become my passion.
Is that right?
It's become my absolute passion because I have so much control over what I get to do. I take old songs, I give them a new twist. I take new songs and I get people that probably wouldn't hear them, you know, contemporary songs, and I'll put it in a context that older people rurally will relate to.
Would you write some of your music? Do you write songs, lyrics?
I don't. I'm fortunate that I have a musical director, Todd Schroeder, and he is gifted in that way. Plus, I have many, many cabaret friends that are giving me new material.
So they're writing for themselves or just writing material?
Well, they write for other people, and they're also sometimes performers as well.
Well, you were at Lee Strasberg training there. Did that training work onto the cabaret stage?
Oh, absolutely. It's fabulous because I get to really invest my acting ability in every song that I do, as well as the comedy.
Was the training at Strasberg the same as what the training you were getting at UCLA?
No.
What were the differences?
It was very different. It was a very different approach. Although I did have an instructor at UCLA, Tom Wheatley, that directed me in Picnic. And he was also a student of Lee Strasberg's.
Could you see similarities? Did he pick those up?
Oh yes, absolutely. But primarily the method that I was training and learning at Lee Strasberg was kind of revolutionary, and a lot of colleges didn't really have you doing that. But I was lucky because I did have, like I said, a few people at UCLA that did teach that too.
But in a way, that conservative approach that you would have gotten in a college drama school must have been helpful too, in a way.
Oh, absolutely. It's all valuable. You know, when you get in front of the camera or you walk on stage, you kind of take in everything you know and use what works.
When you came out of school, did you go right into film work? Or on the stage?
Well,
oh, yes.
I did. I actually got my union card when I was at UCLA. I was cast in a movie of the week, and I got my SAG card.
While you were at school?
Yes.
Does that happen often?
Well, I don't think so.
No.
I mean, I think it was kind of luck.
Good
and
luck. And what was that movie? That was a well-known movie.
Yes, it was called Scared Straight, and that was some years ago. I won't say how long. But anyway.
It was still something that people talk about because it was so kind of different.
It was different at the time. Yes, it was very provocative.
And you've done a lot of movies of the week. You've been on stage. You did Blue Dahlia at the Court Theater.
Yes.
And
I played 11 characters in that play.
How did that happen?
Well, I was cast primarily because I could play a good drunk. And I played this wild character, and I did a Roomba in a Roomba line and danced around. But it had so many little vignettes, and I would run in and I would be an old lady in one vignette, and then I'd come out as a blonde bombshell, and then the next time I'd be the drunk, and and I have to run backstage and change clothes.
And that your director obviously was very helpful in getting you on and off.
Yes, well, I was a really good quick change artist at that time, I tell you.
What about Meet Me in St. Louis?
Meet Me in St. Louis was down at the Lawrence Welk Theater.
Was it a musical?
Yes, it was, and I played Lucille.
So you got to sing?
I got to sing. I always got typecast when I was younger. I always got typecast as sort of the vamp, or the airhead, things like that.
The blonde
airhead, but I have evolved. I have actually evolved.
And then Love from a Stranger
was with James Keach. Yes, I did a production of that at the Cass Theater, and James Keach was my leading man, and it was great. That was an old English character, and with suspense, and
Did you have to learn a dialect?
I did an English dialect for that part.
So you've gone into all these different things, really, before you got to the cabaret stage.
That's right.
And one of your cabaret acts called Back on My Feet.
Back on My Feet Again, and that was.
Oh, that's the new one.
Well, actually, no. That was my first show.
Oh, okay.
After after being on hold for 20 years. I used to sing at the Hollywood Roosevelt when I was in my youth.
20 years you disappeared?
From singing. I did a lot of theater and film and commercials, but I didn't do any singing other than when I had been down in Escondido doing Meet Me in St. Louis. And that was because I had started a family and I wanted to stay in town.
But something else happened to you along the way.
Yes. When I was, I used to be the executive producer for the Skylight Theater in the Beverly Hills Playhouse. And while I was there, I had just finished the Blue Dahlia, and I was doing this other show called The Feeling Hour, and that was the time when I got diagnosed with multiple sclerosis.
How did you happen to go and get diagnosed? What happened to you?
Well, I went skiing, and I had never been skiing. I was sort of the Lucille Ball of the skiing episode. I went tumbling down this hill and fell a few times, learning, of course.
Which is normal.
Right. It's all part of the deal. But then, when I came home from that trip, 3 days later, I woke up and I had numbness and tingling in my legs and feet and hands.
And that was it?
And I thought, what is this? It felt so strange. It was almost like having somebody sock you in the stomach.
Oh, it was strong enough so that you...
Strong feeling, yes. And it stayed. It didn't leave. It was like perpetually there, this feeling of numbness and tingling in my legs and feet and hands. And I ultimately let go of my commitment as the executive producer because I felt unsteady on stage. I started to feel like I was going to fall over, and you know, if you're an actor or a singer or whatever, you have to feel grounded, like you're, you know.
So you took off.
I just kind of left it all behind, and I was coaxed back to do a play. A friend of mine wrote a play called Everybody Loves Joel, and so they coaxed me back into that, and I got to play a woman that was drunk and on Librium. And I sat on a couch the whole time, so I didn't have to move around. So that got me back. And then I started singing for friends and things in parties, and then I auditioned for a play. Everything I wanted to know I learned in kindergarten, and I got a call back. And I thought, well, hey, I must be pretty dang good, you know, if I can get a call back for singing for, you know, an equity show without having had a lesson in years. So that's when I said, you know, I'm going to get myself back into it. And I started working on my voice again, and I decided to try to create a show.
And that's when Back on My Feet came?
That's when Back on My Feet came into being. I started working on it. It took me 2 years to put the songs together. And then I met my musical director, Todd Schroeder.
Did he help you with that?
Absolutely. He's the best there is. Absolutely.
So he plays a big part in what a singer would do on stage.
Absolutely.
Or maybe not every musical director, but obviously he does.
Well, in my case with Todd, he's just an extraordinary person in every respect, as well as being a musical director. He's an arranger. He's a composer. He also is a performer. So when we work together, and he sings with me in my show, I have a show coming up.
He sings with you?
Yes.
Well, he stays at the piano and sings?
He'll do a couple of numbers with me, and we've got a show coming up October 26th at the El Portal, and he's going to be playing for me there.
Does he choose the material?
Oh no, I do that.
He doesn't. So he doesn't have any say-so in choosing the material.
Well, I choose the material. Of course, we work very closely together. He plays for all sorts of people, like Angela Lansbury and Sam Harris and Nell Carter. So I listen very carefully to what he has to tell me.
Then do you write a story? Is that it? And then play and then sing songs more or less? Is that?
The show Here's to Life is the current show that I have now, and it's sort of an autobiographical journey. It's sort of me as a young person and my silliness and frivolity, and how I hopefully have grown over the course of my life. And so it's a celebration of life in song, and there's a lot of humor, and there's a lot of poignant moments in it too.
Does this happen at this time, here's to life, because you've gone into remission. Is that a kind of a outgrowth of that?
It is. I've been in remission for 9 years now.
Yeah.
And I think primarily the main message that I like to have in my cabaret shows is that life is a party, and that your attitude is everything, especially if you have a disability, especially if you have some chronic problem. You know, you have to constantly be fighting that self-pity, which so many people want to sink into, like with...
Or hiding it.
Yes.
Hiding it because you're afraid you won't get work, or because someone will be criticizing you when you go to audition, or
Right.
you do go on stage.
I can't say that it hasn't hurt me on occasion, but you know what? My feeling is that it is who I am. I have this attitude that I have MS and you have brown hair, so what's the big deal? And that's a good attitude. That and the fact that I have a compassion that I never would have had I not had this disability.
It changes things,
Oh,
changes
yes.
your outlook.
And I have to say that, you know, prior to getting a disability myself, I would sort of kind of back away from people with problems, you know. I don't know, there was like sort of an attitude of like you might catch it if you got too close. And now my attitude is that I go up to people and I embrace them, and my show is kind of like that. It's an embracing of life and each other.
You have a CD that you're working on.
Yes.
Will that be like an outgrowth of these shows?
Yes,
Will you pick?
Yes, we're going to be, Todd and I are working on the release of the CD Here's to Life, and hopefully it'll be in January.
And then with these 2 shows, would you go around? I know you've been at the Gardenia, you've been at the Cinegrill, and the El Portal. Would you take these to different cities? Would you take these cabaret shows?
I'd like to. I've been to San Francisco to the Plush Room. I participated in the West Coast Convention.
That's right, yeah.
Last
the
November.
cabaret convention, yeah.
Yes, it was the premier one on the West Coast, and but you know we're hoping at the El Portal to have many cabaret productions and other
Just to
artists
keep-
as well.
yeah, right. Well, we're glad that you came and shared your story with us today.
Well, thank you for having me.
Thank you,
Joan.
Deborah.
It's really a pleasure to meet you.
Thank you. And thank all of you for watching the Joan Quinn Profiles, and we'll
Yes.
see you next time. Keep writing to 777 South Figueroa, 44th floor, and we'll see you next time. Good.